And by the way, you're living in a society where there are other minorities that have all of their rights, even though they're religious. And they look different from everybody else. And they are not secular. And they practice their religion. And they're successfully practicing their religion. And they're practicing it more openly than, and then you are going to say, oh, it's so hard to be Muslim?
Is there a way, in your opinion, to become a better Muslim in a secular circumstances or context, and would it make sense to try?
What is a secular context? Is this a secular context? Are you living in a secular country? Yeah. So is it hard? Is it really hard to be Muslim? It's really difficult? No, it's not. You're praying, you're dressed, not in disobedience to Allah. Are you not allowed to eat halal food? You're not allowed. You're not allowed to get married. You're not allowed to read the Quran. Is your access to obeying Allah just blocked? No? Oh, there's some pressure on you to join the Christmas party? That's what's so difficult? Like when people come to me and say, it's so hard to be Muslim in the West. I'm like, really? Really? You actually believe it's hard? It's just, maybe you don't know what hard means. Like people actually have a hard life. And there are people that there are Muslims I know, if they accepted Islam, if their family finds out that they accepted Islam, they will be killed. They will be killed. Their house could get burnt down because they live around religious extremists from another religion. That's hard, right? Yeah, so people don't like your religion, or some people look at you, in ugly ways, or some people discriminate against you. Okay, small price to pay for the most beautiful truth. Why are you describing that as hard? How weak do we have to be to consider some social pressure? Oh, it's too hard, right? To me, that becomes a demonstration of our own sort of weakness, right? And there are, somebody asked a really deep question. There was a sister who was doing a PhD program, and in the university, of course, they have professors, and they're celebrating LGBT, and there's all this stuff, and then there's alcohol whenever somebody presents a paper or defends a thesis, there's a party, and then they're serving alcohol and all of that, and you have to be a part of it. And if you don't they always look at you like, "What's your reaction?" And because otherwise they may not allow you to pursue your degree, or they may find other ways to block you, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, they might. And you might have to suffer through all of that and grind your teeth, but you need to start developing a much stronger mindset. And you know what that much stronger mindset is? I'm not going to let the next generation of young women and young men go through this in this country. I'm not going to let that happen. And how will you not let that happen? If you don't become people that hold positions of power and influence in a society, then you will always be on the outside, and nobody cares about what offends you. They only care about what offends the powerful, right? So if you're not concerned with whatever education you're getting, if our concern still remains, I'm going to get an education, then I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to get married. That's my concern. Then you know what? Generations from now, we're just going to end up losing in your lineage, in your community, Islam may not remain. Islam may move to some other ethnicity. If you want Islam to become something that remains for generations, whatever you have to promise yourself, whatever challenge you have to face that makes holding on to your Islam difficult, you are doing everything collectively within your power to make sure the next 10 years from now, this is not a problem that's repeated. The next wave, they're not going to have this problem. They might have a new problem, they won't have this one, right? And you may not be able to solve that in one day or 1 year, but you need to start coming together and doing something about these things. You need to learn the language of power. Muslims don't understand the legal system, for example. Forget the economic system. We don't understand the legal system. All these countries where there's so many exhaustive laws about discrimination, are there laws about discrimination? Yes or no? Okay, laws about religious discrimination, laws about ethnic discrimination, laws about equal treatment at the workplace, equal opportunity at the education fields. But even though the laws are in place, does actual discrimination happen at the university, at the hospital, at the office? Does it happen? Yes. But we sit there and complain about it while we're eating our halal chicken, and having our shai after Taraweeh, instead of banding together and saying, you know what, we're going to pursue legal action against this one university. We're going to get 30, 40, 50 students together and say, hey, we have documented evidence of this discrimination and we are not going to accept it. And here's our evidence, and you take it to court. And once you take it to court, now you're speaking the language of power. Because that's the only language people understand. They don't understand the language of you crying in a corner. They don't understand the language of you, being offended because your existence offends them, right? But there's another language they do speak. Oh, they speak it really well. Anything that will cost them reputation, anything that will cost them money, anything that will cost them their image as a liberal university that's all accepting and all whatever. Now you've got yourself a different ball game altogether. This is a different scenario altogether. And if the Muslims that have graduated from law school, the Muslims that are in the PhD programs, you guys need to have your own communities. Masjid is nice. It's a community, and there's a mom, and there's an engineer, and there's a doctor or whatever. But doctors should have a doctor community. Engineers should have an engineer community. There should be a working professionals community. There should be a higher education students community where you guys can exchange ideas, thoughts, concerns, converge. You can go to the business leaders of this community and say, hey, we have this problem at the university. All you businesses, help us hire a lawyer so that your kids don't have to face this tomorrow, because you're running these businesses and your kids are going to go to those universities. So let us help you create a better future for your kids. This is how community should build. But we are so focused. We have been, I'm not complaining. We have been so focused as individuals. We don't think in the sense of community. We don't think like that. Our idea of community is build a masjid and make sure you have a good wudu area and a shoe area and you're done. No, that was just the start of our community. That's not the end point. That's the starting point. And after that, you have to develop these things. And then, okay, now, and if you're not doing any of that, then don't tell me life is hard. Then you're the reason life is hard. That's what I say. I mean. And also, because this is Europe, and we don't have to have this conversation in America, but we have to have this conversation in Europe. Many of you, alhamdulillah, you don't take drugs, but somehow you are high anyway. Okay, you are hallucinating. Oh, we're just going to go back. This is Darul Kufr. We're going to go back to Darul Iman and Darul Islam, and this is Darul Harb and Darul Kufr, and we're going to make hijrah. I'm just here for a little. You ain't going back. You go back for the summer, the first time the electricity goes out, the first time you have to go outside and use the bathroom. 2 weeks later, you're back here again. Don't lie to me. You know. The first day you go, mashallah, it's so amazing, it's so beautiful. Like, when are we going home? And I'm not saying, and by the way, if Allah brought you to this land and brought you to this country, instead of saying, astaghfirullah, I'm in Darul Kufr, there are so many kuffar, because of you, Islam came to this area. Because of you. Now think about, if Islam came to this area because of you, could this be a center of Islam 100 years from now because of you? Or is it just going to be some migrants came and they couldn't handle it and they left? So one of the most powerful Muslim civilizations in Islamic history is the Indian Muslim civilization. The Mughal rulers had an army that was over 30 to 40 times bigger than the United Kingdom's army at one point. They had one of the largest budgets and most robust economies in the world. And at the time when in Europe, if you were Catholic versus Protestant, you had to live in different neighborhoods. The Muslims in India have created a society where Hindus, Sikhs, Jews, Christians, Muslims, different denominations of Muslims are all doing business with each other, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, freedom of exchange of ideas. And the British used to come to India not to just to do trade, just to live a better life. Many young English people left Europe to go live among the Muslims because it was just a better life. It used to be the America. Like, you don't know that because I didn't know that. We don't study history, but that used to be the case. But tell me about India. What was its original religion earlier on? It was Hindu. And it wasn't just Hindu, it was Hindu kingdoms. It was massive empires of the Hindus, right? Afghanistan has a beautiful Islamic history, but before Islam, there's a variety of religions in Afghanistan. There were Buddhists, there were other religions. There's still temples there that recently got destroyed, but it's an ancient history. Do you think like Muslims just one day the whole country just became Muslim? No, some people moved there, right? And they decided to stay. And they didn't just decide to stay, they decided to make Islam a presence. And that presence eventually spread. You know the most populated Muslim country in the world? Indonesia. When you travel across Indonesia, you see a lot of Hindu temples, a lot of Buddhist temples. Because originally the religions in Indonesia are Hindu. And they, just to honor some of their ancestry, just to show you where they came, how they brought Islam, the Hindus used to have these giant drums, and the Buddhists used to have these giant drums outside their temples where they bang. You've seen those Chinese drum things? Like, like Kung Fu Panda, I think they had one, right? I was at Jumu'ah in Indonesia one time, and all of a sudden I hear the boom, 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 and it gets faster, 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 faster. I was like, is there going to be a kung fu festival, or is there a Muay Thai thing that's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then there was the adhan, because actually the first people that came there and they were doing da'wah to Islam, they knew the only way to call people to some gathering was the drum thingy. They still have the drum thingy. It's so cool. Like that's where and it's the most populated Muslim country on earth. And it was the furthest place from Islam. It was the furthest place from Islam. And when I was traveling in Malaysia, we went to this island, Kota Kinabalu, from Kuala Lumpur, and it's an island. Like, you just from island to island, right? So we're just flying over, and I'm looking down at the ocean. We're about to land on this island, and I'm thinking, Ya Allah, you brought La ilaha illallah all the way here, from the deserts of Hijaz here. And we land in Kota Kinabalu, this little island. We're driving on this road, and far in the distance, you see a mountain, and on the mountain, there's a giant sign that says Allah. Oh, what is happening? I thought it'd say Hollywood, but it says Allah. And we stop at a little shop to eat, like those things that have the tin roof, right? The open shack type things, right? So we go there, we're eating food, and there was a brother, a father. He had like 4 kids, and they're all reciting a surah together, right? So I just sat next to them, just listening to these kids recite Quran. It was so beautiful. So he turns to me, he says, هل أنتم مسلمون? I said, نعم نعم نحن مسلمون. أنتم زوار؟ نعم نحن زوار. من أين جئتم؟ جئنا من أمريكا. ما شاء الله، أنتم تتكلمون العربية في أمريكا؟ شيئا ما، نعم. وأنت في إندونيسيا تتكلم العربية؟ نحن مسلمون نعرف العربية. هي لغة الإسلام. This guy in an island in Indonesia is just speaking to me in Arabic. He's like, of course, it's the language of Islam. Why wouldn't we speak Arabic? Right? Now imagine that's not some random pie in the sky theory. You guys are some of the smartest Muslims, because the opportunities that are opening up. Because you know what Europe does, right? Europe allows people to move in, either to use them as labor class, right? To drive their taxis, to pave their roads, to clean their, sanitation systems, et cetera, or they want the smartest people to come to their universities because they want to use them for their benefit, right? And it serves two purposes. Then the Muslim countries remain like they keep doing brain drain from Muslim countries, and they use these smart individuals to work in their companies to build those companies even better. So large corporations in America like Facebook, Google, tech companies, medical companies, if you remove the Muslim employees from the workforce, those companies would go bankrupt. That's a fact. That's a fact. Some of the top engineers, doctors, researchers in every field are Muslims, right? And my problem is, why are those Muslims still thinking like employees? When are they going to start thinking like employers? Because the talent pool is there. The ingenuity is there. But we have this mentality that we are the greatest success for a Muslim youth is one day to become an employee. Like this, mashallah, he got a job. Mashallah, he's making somebody else money. Mashallah, he's the reason for the success of another business, another enterprise, another institution. You know what? You should work for a big company. You should work for large corporations so you can learn the best skills, best practices, learn the top industry hacks. But your goal, your aim, your objective should be to tear them apart, to replace them with something better. That's what it should be. And if you don't do that, if you don't build that, then I'll say something harsh, but I need you to just take it to heart. If you removed the Muslims from a society, where the Muslims are a minority, if you remove them from the society, and the only loss that society feels is, oh, now where are we going to get taxi drivers from? I guess we're going to have to get money from student visas from some other poor country. That's the only loss they felt. They don't feel any other loss. Then you don't know, your presence has no value. But if you were removed from society and all of a sudden that society is an economic social collapse because you were so integral to that society, now you know Islam is going to flourish in this place. Because they can hate you, but they can't get rid of you. They can hate you, but they need you. Right? The question is, do they need us? That's the question. Instead of so we need to stop asking the dumb question. We shouldn't be here. No, we're here and we're going to build. And we're going to deepen our roots. And we're going to strengthen ourselves. And by the way, you're living in a society where there are other minorities that have all of their rights, even though they're religious. And they look different from everybody else. And they are not secular. And they practice their religion. And they're successfully practicing their religion. And they're practicing it more openly and then you are going to say, oh, it's so hard to be Muslim? Learn some lessons. Because those people that may have those kinds of rights and those kinds of liberties, yes, they had a longer time to establish themselves, but they also had a plan to establish themselves. Because when they started out, they were being treated like dogs also. That's just a fact. Just study history.
Almost 300,000 souls have already been gifted a Bayyinah TV sponsorship and the impact has been immense. But over 50,000 eager students who can't afford it are still waiting to begin their journey. You can help. Visit bayyinah.com/gift to share the gift of the Quran so that another soul can explore the depths of Allah's words.
Their access lasts a year, but its impact may last a lifetime. I want you to help me help them and give the gift of Bayyinah TV today.